My name is Keith White with Marketplace Home Mortgage. Chad Schwitter's Urban Homeworks and I go back quite a few years now. I was first introduced by friends and business partners of mine, Dave and Lisa Hintermeister, who to this day organize many of the interactions Marketplace Home Mortgage regularly engages with Urban Homeworks and the awesome team they have there. But I'll get back to the details of that in a few minutes. Chad called me up a few months back and asked if I would be one of the speakers at today's luncheon. I responded, "Wow, that sounds great. What do you want me to talk about? The Vikings quarterback problems, or the Wolves' latest remodel, or maybe the Wild winning the Cup this year?" He just laughed and said, "No, what I want you to do is I'd like you to really do some self-reflection, to share your personal story, and most of all, your feelings about how you and your company and your relationship with Urban Homeworks has impacted your business, your culture, and most of all, your heart." "I want to hear the Keith White story," he said. Whoa. Self-reflection, feelings, heart. That's a tough one. I hope he had the wrong number. After not calling Chad back for like 2 months, he finally calls me back and says, "So, are you in?" All matter of fact. I said, "Yeah, but you know how emotional I am. There's no way I'm not going to get choked up talking about you guys." He just laughed and said, "Yeah, I know. That's why I called you. Oh, and by the way, you have to do it all in 9.5 minutes. Well, I better get started. Let me tell you about my American dream and how I got here today. But to truly do so, I need to go back one generation. Because in just a few minutes, you're going to hear my new friend Tina Field's story. And I'm sure that though we have many obvious differences, you will recognize, like I did, the many similarities. My parents, Ken and Betty White, were both born just after the Great Depression. Came from extremely hard-working, modest homes. My father was the oldest of 5 boys, growing up in the early 40s, surviving through the rationing and hard times of World War II. Maybe even harder yet was my mother's upbringing. She was the oldest of only 3 daughters, growing up and working on a dairy farm in southwest Wisconsin. At only 20 years of age, the 2 of them met and got married in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Within 3 years, they'd have 3 children. Not being able to find suitable, stable income to support this crew, they packed up everyone and everything and headed west for Minnesota. Yes, the land of the Vikings, for a job opportunity as an assistant manager and butcher at a Red Owl grocery store. Now, you need to know my dad. He is obsessed with everything Wisconsin, and most especially his Packers. To move his 2 baby boys into enemy territory, having to assume that they would never grow up to be Packer fans, was a sacrifice like no other for any rabid Packer backer. After working hard and frugally saving some money, within a few years they were able to build a new 3-bedroom home in Hastings, Minnesota, and that's where I would grow up and spend my childhood. Like many marriages, my parents were faced with many challenges. Though there were some very rocky times, for better or worse, when it would have been a lot easier just to walk away, they were both committed to stay together and provide us as stable of a home and a life as possible. Years later, they would eventually separate, but they continued to care deeply for one another and always cared for us kids, right up until my mother's passing just a couple years ago. After high school, I went on to St. Cloud State University, where I graduated with a degree in real estate and finance. Days after graduating, I embarked on my career in the mortgage banking industry, which has spanned almost 30 years so far. For almost 10 years, I did a corporate ladder climbing thing with GMAC Mortgage. Either after they or I can never remember exactly which, decided I wasn't best suited to run General Motors, I decided to venture off on my own. With the help and partnership of a few close colleagues, I founded Marketplace Home Mortgage in 1995. So, let's now talk about the elephant in the room. Some of you may be saying to yourself, "Hey, isn't he one of those mortgage guys? Aren't he and all his buddies the ones that caused this whole problem to begin with? And the plight that so many have and are yet to face?" If it were only that simple. In the early to mid-2000s marked what I have referred to as the crazy days. During this time and the decade preceding it, multiple presidential administrations and Congresses from both parties in Washington embarked on a sustained economic policy to systematically drive up home ownership rates throughout the country. And the race to financial freedom and success was on for everyone. As you are all aware, Wall Street was all too eager to jump in and do their part. But the line at the cookie jar didn't end there. Big banks, small banks, land developers, builders, subcontractors, suppliers, realtors, mortgage lenders, everyone in this country was benefiting from the seemingly wonderful new housing economy. The policies of Washington and the products created on Wall Street were easy to sell. Everyone wanted it, and they couldn't get enough. We all thought, hey, it must be okay. Aren't the guys in D.C. on Wall Street the smartest guys in the room? Well, we found out the hard way on that one, too. Mistakes were made by everyone. Some mistakes and people were honest, some not so much. And even some yet now are in jail where they belong. Politicians pointed fingers. Bankers have and are paying huge fines. Many developers, builders, subcontractors, realtors, mortgage lenders are all bankrupt or have completely changed their professions. But what about the communities? What about the families? They didn't have the backstop of shareholders, taxpayers, or the court systems to protect them. What happened to them? We know. In another one of my moments of self-reflection, this one just happened to be over a beer a couple months ago with Chad, I confided that looking back in retrospect, these mortgage products and the subsequent unfettered access to capital were almost like a drug that everyone in the country was addicted to. We were all hooked and couldn't get enough. DC and Wall Street played the role of the suppliers, and we in the mortgage industry, we are the dealers. Not a very flattering reflection on any of us. The reason I got into this business and the reason I stay in this business is because of the joy and satisfaction that comes when someone gets the keys to their new home, and my part and our part in helping make that happen. Credit and access to financial markets is absolutely necessary for individuals to participate in the housing market. However, as evidenced by the results of the foreclosure crisis, the products and how they were deployed were not equal. Though we all benefited greatly through the mirage of the crazy days, the people and communities of North Minneapolis, Phillips Central, Frogtown, and the East Side have been and still are being devastated disproportionately by these policies and actions. At Marketplace Home Mortgage, we know that financing and capital are tools that can be used for good or ill. We've always tried to choose good. One of the ways we choose good is by partnering closely with Urban Homeworks. We help underwrite the applicants for Project Reclaim, Northside Home, and we volunteer on construction sites. We just recently completed a yard crasher style landscaping competition between groups of our employees in the Level Square neighborhood. We have also tied our corporate giving to doing good by donating the first portion of the profits on every closed loan at Marketplace Home Mortgage. Over the past few years, that has yielded over $100,000 investment in the mission of Urban Homeworks. As we do these things, it reminds us that in order for me to move forward in my life, and for us to move forward as a company, and for all of us to move forward as a community, I and we are only able to move forward to the degree that we can move forward together. Where's Marketplace Home Mortgage today? Well, I'm blessed to tell you that we have been moving forward. Since 2007, Marketplace has grown from 3 offices and 26 loan officers to 12 offices with 26 satellites, over 100 loan officers, and over 200 total employees. Me? Well, I'm done reflecting for a while. I'm going to move forward, and I'm blessed to be doing so with my lovely wife, Carrie, and my 4 fantastic children, Marissa, Isabella, Nick, and Alexander, who are here with me today. Every American dream needs to start with a solid foundation. Mine started with my parents sacrificing by moving away from their families and friends for a job opportunity to provide me with a stable home to grow up in and to develop an educational and spiritual support system. This is the reason why we're here today. This is what Urban Homeworks is all about. Please join us in supporting this tremendous organization. Thank you.